Hey everyone, this is Mac Pialui for the LMI podcast on the road. Welcome back. We're at 2025 ABA Legal Tech, and I'm with Stephen Haber. Stephen, how are you doing today?
Okay, how are you?
Yes.
Nice speaking with you.
Yes, thank you so much. And so we're here. I'm holding this box of Norwegian chocolate because this has a lot of Norwegian influence. And so I just wanted you to tell the viewers a little bit about Case Crafter and what it does, how it works, and who the audience is. Because there's a lot of lawyers and mediators who watch this YouTube channel, and so it's a chance for me to get a lot of these new tech in front of them. So tell us about Case Crafter.
Well, Case Crafter is a single platform into which you can embed your entire case material in any kind of case that has a time element that would be important to get across to a jury. So it could be a construction accident case or even a construction litigation case of a commercial nature where, for example, you're mapping out contractors on a critical path. In a malpractice case, it could be a labor and delivery case or a failure to diagnose case. It could be a straight personal injury case where you want to get across to the jury the sequence of events from the day of the accident going forward with all of the case materials embedded, subject to a PDF editor which is fully functional, which allows you to categorize events, embed them completely with all of your case materials, and the entire timeline is searchable so that you can find occurrences of words and phrases within the actual events and can actually pull the specific documents that relate to what idea you're dealing with. For example, if you're dealing with a case like this happens to have been a failure to diagnose an arteriovenous malformation in the spine which resulted in surgery. Now this would be a post-surgical repair of the circumstance, and this patient unfortunately developed a very bad kyphosis and distortion of the spine as a result of the length of time that the treatment persisted for the cervical AVM, cervical cord AVM. But so this was, when I tried this case, or assisted in the trial of this case, this was one of the visual elements. So it takes PDFs, it takes audio, it takes video, it takes digital imaging of radiological studies, and puts it all together where you have the case at your fingertips, essentially, and can turn on a dime as you litigate it. I use it in my practice to build my cases from the very beginning all the way through trial, and this is a trial presentation tool at the end point, which allows you to stream this. It runs on iPad, and there's a version also for PC that gets streamed to the courtroom to make your case really come alive in all of its detail, and gives you the ability to fashion through visual scripting your entire story. And I use it, as I say, in all of my cases. Been a big advocate for it, and I'm happy to be associated with the company.
Yes, awesome. And so you yourself have been a trial lawyer for 40 years?
Yes, I have the gray hair and lack thereof to prove it.
Yes, and so how does this differ from some of the other similar platforms on the market? You can say named if you want.
Sure. I was a big advocate for TrialPad. In fact, I was one of their power users that they featured on their website for a period of time. And I was really interested in making the jump from straight presentation of documents in the formats that they have to get a broader and more meaningful presentation with a graphical timeline. They unfortunately did not develop one within the time frame that I really wanted. I sought out other applications, and there just wasn't anything out there. And that's the feedback that I was getting from a lot of folks. I was asking around colleagues, and nobody had anything. And I actually happened upon a very raw version of this, and I made contact with Tor, who is the owner of the application, and we worked together, and he's just a masterful designer and coder, and with my suggestions, this was created.
Okay, so that's where the Norwegian influence comes from?
Yes, and my wife tells me that's the next vacation spot.
Very nice. So tell us about the ABATechShow and what being here with it means to you.
Oh, well, first of all, just to be able to see the reaction of people who would be the end users. we're all very encouraged by that. And, having been one of the co-winners of the Startup of the Year was great validation of the value of what we've been working on and putting together, and the culmination of the efforts. So that was really very, great fun. But also to meet with other companies that we could interface with is really important too, because to have that opportunity to have those kinds of contacts and dialogue is really important to a technology company that is excited about what they do, feel that they have the utility in their product to interest people, and to have this line of communication really is wonderful. So we're very thankful for being able to be here and looking forward to ongoing association.
Yes, and lastly, would you say it's primarily for like personal injury, construction, accident kind of cases, but what about family law, for example? Because I know a lot of family lawyers. I know some who have used TrialPad. I've seen it in action before, and the family law courts in Texas. But would this work for family cases as well?
Yeah, well, if you're talking about, and it depends, if you're talking about a child custody situation, to be able to trace out, say, the timeline of a child being born, in whose custody were they during what and what time? Were there any events that occurred early on in a certain time frame that is probative of that parent's ability to parent in the future? God forbid, arrest records could be embedded here. Interviews of family members who have observed events occur. In the course of a child's life where the issue is custody, I'm sure that there are a lot of events that occur that you want to be able to know when they occurred and be able to embed in that event everything that's relevant. Could be interviews of witnesses to a child abuse as supposedly evidence of an unfitness of a parent, arrest records, all kinds of stuff. Some of it may be explainable, but being able to put together that chain of events that is relevant. And mediations, I frequently appear at mediations with a timeline, more in the context of personal injury and malpractice, but at the same time, anything that is a time element where you want to accumulate to a specific set of events all of the data that relate to it and be able to pull it out in that format it's a useful thing. So I find that the more I think about different use cases, the more expansive it becomes rather than constrictive.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for us lawyers, timelines are crucial. They make or break your case if you don't get it right. Yeah. Right? Whether it's in front of a jury or in front of a judge. And so this tool brings a timeline to life in a way that is interactive and visual and compelling.
Yeah, and this has the ability then for multiple people to work with that same timeline, supplement it, annotate it, and have input into it where it's a shared experience. And it's actually a workflow coordination on a very practical, level. So I've enjoyed working with it, and we've been actually trying to interest, to the extent they're out there, interest law enforcement agencies that do these criminal investigations, site investigations, and then we interviewed this witness, and they actually have the flow of the investigative material that anybody could jump into and say, oh, I see a connection here or a connection there. It's amazing what laying something out in that way can bring in terms of insight that you wouldn't have otherwise been aware of. So, it's fun stuff.
All right, Stephen Haber.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so
talking
much.
with you.
All right, guys, LMIPodcast.com, Lawyers Medias International. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.